It's thinking. There we go. We are live.
Hey,
Yay!
hello. Hello,
Hello, my
everyone.
beautiful friend. I am so excited for you. So,
Thank
we
you.
are here to celebrate with you and to talk about your new guide and journal, Burnout to Bliss, which I absolutely love the title of because I don't know about everybody else, but we can go to burnout really easy nowadays because we have 500 things going on and our calendars can look really scary. And if you really look back over everything you did in the last week, it can be like, oh my gosh. I mean, because your calendar is one thing, but it's all the things that fills in all the spaces between the calendar date, all the appointments you have. It's all
Yeah.
the extras that fill in that leads to that burnout, all the things you don't say no to, all those things,
Mhm.
and that you can just run yourself ragged. So I am so excited to get to talk about what this book means, why you put it together, and I want everybody to know, even not this is going out on several platforms and not everybody knows who Dr. Jodie is. I love that we can officially say that now because you
Yeah.
got honored with your doctorate in April. And I am so glad that we got this finished. And I just have to say one little thing before we get started. When you see the cover of this book, hold it up, Jodie. Um, that little person there on the edge, that's
Yeah.
Miss Jodie herself.
That would
So
be
when
me.
we were talking about the cover of this, she's like, oh my gosh, I have a picture. Let me send it to you. And it was
Mhm.
literally what we were talking about. So I
Yeah.
love that you are on your cover. And really, unless they know you and know your profile, they don't know that it's you. So it's
Yeah.
so cool.
Me and my eyelashes are
Yeah,
right here.
exactly.
You can see me. Yes, I
I
had
love
the
it.
most beautiful photo shoot with my friend and amazing photographer Shannon Claire for my
Yes,
birthday,
I
actually,
love
back in
it.
October in Southern California. So we
Oh,
were on the beach,
yes.
and I told her, I said, I have to get this particular photo because
Yeah,
I knew that that's what I wanted on the banner on my website. And so then when we started talking about finally putting this together, because we have
right.
actually been talking about doing this for about a year,
Yes.
and it's been in the works of me starting to write about burnout for the past few years. And
Hmm.
so it's been a project that's definitely been coming and a
Yes.
labor of love. And so as we were putting it together and talking about, well, I really want this for the cover, I thought, you know, that's on the banner on my website from that
Come
photo
on.
shoot. Let's grab it. And you said it was perfect. And
I
so,
love
yeah, I'm
it.
so grateful for my fabulous team of people to support me and to help me create all
Yes.
of these things to get the ideas and everything that's in my head out
Right.
to the world. So, yeah, so
Right.
it's a collaboration for sure.
Yes. So tell people a little bit about who you are, what you do, and
Okay.
then, why burnout to bliss.
Okay. So it's definitely been a ride and a journey. So I am Jodie Solberg, like Nicole said, and I have been working in the mental health, behavioral health, and wellness field for 25 years now. And I have personally gone through my own, what I call the cycle of burnout. And I don't believe that people only burn out once, that a lot of times it's our habits and our patterns and the things that, we're believing about our lives and about our work and about how we interact with other people that can contribute to us being more susceptible to burnout. And so for me personally, I was always a high achiever, and I was somebody who, was always doing all the things. And I had high expectations of myself. And, I would say, okay, well, I'm going to go to college and I'm not just going to major, I'm going to double major and I'm going to get 2 degrees in 4 years and I'm going to go to school year round. And I literally only took off time at Christmas every year to go visit my family. Other than
Wow.
that, I lived there, I stayed there, I worked, I went to school. I was trying to figure out what classes I could take at community college when the university was closed in the summer. Like, that was just who I was. And then when I went to grad school for clinical psychology, because my undergrad psychology and sociology, so went to grad school, had 3 weeks in between, and just like straight into a doctorate program. And I started a business in those 3 weeks because I found out that my student loans, right, my lovely 6 figures in student loans, were going to start accruing interest.
Oh,
And they weren't,
yep.
where they waited, right? They didn't say, "Oh, we give you this grace period till you get out of school," like an
Right.
undergrad. I had just graduated, so those were now accruing interest, and now my graduate student loans were also accruing interest. And I thought, okay, well, what can I do? Because I am going to school full time and working full time in the mental health clinic, and I don't have any time to do anything else. And so I started a business being a coach and consultant for people in business and entrepreneurs, and decided to add that onto the plate. So I've always had these habits and these patterns, and of
Yep.
adding more things on. Well, at the same time all of that was going on, I met my now husband. We've been together for 23 years now. And what's really amazing is that, we were long distance for a lot of that time when I was in school, especially, and he was Navy, he's retired now. And so I added that on, right? So I'm adding all of these things. And, I was young. I think about all the things that we did, 20, 30 years ago, and it just makes me tired even thinking about it. But that just, set me up that as I got further along in my career, it wasn't sustainable forever. I didn't have the 20-year-old energy forever. And
Exactly.
then you add on, becoming a wife and having family responsibilities and all of these other things that happen. We have grief and we have loss and we have stress. And there's a lot that goes on in our lives. And so as I moved forward in my career, especially for me, I was working with a lot of court appointed clients for a lot of my career, which was wonderful work. And it was amazing. I worked with families that were dealing with crisis and abuse and addiction and all of these really heavy things. And yes, it was very rewarding work. And it's also very stressful and it's also very tiring and taxing. And then having my business on top of it, which my business was my happy place. It was where I got to work with people who wanted to be there and
Right.
who, really wanted to do the work and make those changes. And it got to be too much. And basically, what ended up happening for me when I realized I'd gone through burnout a couple of times, because I didn't realize when I was going through it the first couple of times,
Right.
I knew, okay, there's too much. There's are things going on with my health. There's things going on with the family where I need to put my priorities over here. I need to take a little time off. I need to rest and recover. I need to take care of myself. And then I'd go right back to my old ways. Right? I'd feel like, oh, I'm good. I'm fine. And that's why I
Right.
call it a cycle,
Yep.
because we'll get to a certain level and
Yep.
then we might recognize it and we may catch ourselves and make a change. And then what happens is each time it gets worse and worse. And so for me, what
Exactly.
happened was back in 2017, I literally got hit by a truck. I was on the freeway, completely stopped, got rear ended, and it was just a mess on the freeway. It was this big construction truck. They were not paying attention. They did not slow down. Everybody else was stopped. And it basically ended up being a year plus worth of recovery. And there was a lot of loss and some other, family circumstances and things that were going on at the time that just added to that stress. And I was trying to work because I was trying to, pay for all the things and take care of everybody and everything else. And I wasn't recovering physically the way I could have. Right. My doctors were saying, you're kind of hitting this plateau. And I realized that I was just really burnt out and I wasn't giving my body the ability to heal itself. All of our emotions, everything that happens mentally and emotionally affects us physically. It starts
Oh,
here
yeah.
and our body follows.
Yeah.
And so I knew all of this. I was teaching other people all of this. And I realized, like, okay, time out. I need to change the way I'm doing things at a fundamental level,
Right.
not just take time off, rest and recover, go right back to it. I need
Yeah.
to actually deconstruct some things and figure out what I can do to recover for
Right.
good and then prevent burnout in the future. And so that led to this whole process, this whole journey
Right.
of literally shifting my life and shifting my career and my habits and the way I was doing things. And so that led me to start Psyched Up Success, which is my private practice. I way back when I was talking about, back in 2001 when I was in grad school, and that whole thing began. I actually became a hypnotherapist. That was one of the modalities that I chose when I was in school. And I was finding that all of the people in business that I was working with, they were dealing with all the same kind of personal challenges that we all deal with, right? I was helping coach them in their businesses and starting businesses and growing their businesses. And it wasn't only about business.
Mhm.
They had families, they had other obligations, they had other things in their life, and they had challenges physically, mentally, emotionally, and relationship wise that were affecting their businesses.
Oh no, she froze for me. I don't know if she froze for everybody. Give her a second to come back.
That was to be able to
There,
help people take this. Oh, we're back. Yeah. So
there we go.
I figured out that I absolutely love to help people take the psychology, all my background and education and
Yeah.
experience, all the cognitive behavioral and the hypnotherapy and the trauma work that I'd done, and marry that with all the principles of success. And so I put those two worlds together to start my virtual private practice. Now, like I said, I work virtually. And one of the reasons why I do that now is because it supports my health and well-being and making sure that I can take care of myself. Yes, I speak in person. Yes, I do some things, but
Yes.
the majority of the way I work now is so different. When I was running all over the place in traffic all of the time, stressed out, trying to get from one thing to the next,
Right?
I really made huge changes and big shifts so that I could take care of myself first, so I could
Yeah.
show up as my best for everybody else. And so that's that long journey. Like I said, it wasn't short. This is, a 25-year journey to get to the point where I was like, okay, I got myself through this. I helped
Mhm.
myself learn how to heal. Let me show other people how to recognize burnout and all the different stages, because there's a lot of stages,
Oh yeah.
be able to, see and be aware of what's really going on, learn how to recover from it, and also learn how to prevent. Because
Mm.
literally the best time to overcome burnout is before you're even in it. But the next best time is right now, no matter where you're at. It
Yes.
can be healed. You can recover from it. And so that's really why Burnout to Bliss. And that's why now, like I said, I started a few years ago talking about that around the time that the pandemic was really hitting and we were really seeing that uptick in
Yep.
burnout, because it's not just about work.
Yeah.
It can be about caregiver burnout. It can be just burnout life, all
Yeah.
the things on our
Yeah.
plates. Because it used to be people only talked about it in corporate.
Yeah.
Everybody said, "Oh, it's work." Well, no, you're not just a person at work in a bubble. You're a whole person. And so I
Right.
started talking about it then when we started seeing these burnout rates skyrocket. And I've been talking about it ever since. And, I have done workshops on this. I've created, parts and pieces that I put out there.
Yeah.
And this is just the comprehensive version of everything I've been teaching for the last 3 or 4 years about
Yeah.
burnout,
Yeah.
all in one place, a whole system that can really help guide and support someone in overcoming burnout, literally through just a guide and a journal. It's 30 days. It's a
Yeah.
practice that you can
Yeah.
start getting into to create new habits that are going to support you in this moment, in this month, but also for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And so back to that burnout, how you said that you were you were going through burnout, but you didn't realize you were going through burnout. There's so many of us that we push and push and push till we get sick. So I'm speaking from experience because I've had to learn that myself, because I would, even when I was younger, I would push and push and push, and then I'd end up sick for a couple of days. And then I'd push and push and push and end up sick for a couple of days. And I finally, how many ever years later, now am realizing it, the 30 days that it takes for this book is such a great start to shift that mindset to go, okay, well, I've got this to do tomorrow. Okay, I'm looking at my schedule of the week ahead. I've got all of this. Now, does this need to be done tomorrow, or do I need to take a minute in that day? Do I need to take maybe half a day to just rest, because I do have all this ahead of my week? And, I have figured out for my body, the way my body works, I have fibro, I have other things that my body itself deals with. And I know now what I can push through and get done, and what I can't, because I can push through it all and get done if I like. And then I can have 2 to 3 days where my body's not going to function and it's just not going to let me do anything. And then I'm behind on things. So I have learned to go, okay, I'm not going to do this today, which is something that's not significant. This is something that can wait, so that I can get this, and this done the next couple of days. I mean, I've really had to look at how I schedule my life. I've looked at how I schedule my clients. Even like, I'm not at home. This is not my normal background. Usually I have my books that I've helped people publish, but even scheduling time to come down and see my grandbabies. Can I go down this week? What do I have to do personally for my business? Can I come down here? Because it's a whole different shift in lifestyle when I come down here. Sleep schedule's different. Where I sleep's different. So I'm not in my nice comfy bed at home. It's not awful. It's not horrible, but my body reacts different to it. So, when I go home from here, I have to take a day to reset. I can't just jump back in, so you have to learn those things about your body. And I think this is a great way, if you don't know where to start, this is a great way to get this book and really sit down, and it gives you a really good way to evaluate what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and really take a day, the 30 days, and looking at those questions every day. It really helps you break down what's not working, what's not benefiting you, and helps you shift your mindset. And I love that you've taken a program that you use with your clients, and you've put some of it in this book. And so people that are getting this book is getting part of what you do. And the ones that get this book and really connect with it, all your contact information's in there. They can reach out to you and connect more. I would love you to share a little bit about what's in the book, some of your content. Obviously don't give it away, because we want them to get your book, but it is a workbook. It's not just a journal. It's not just to answer these couple questions. There's a guide in there. There's a lot of information in there, not just like what Jodie's talking about today, but there's a lot of breakdown information of what to be aware of, what to look for in your life. And then there's 30 days of really sitting down and evaluating what you're doing. And if you do it, if you commit to doing it, and 30 days is not a lot. 30 days blows by pretty fast nowadays. We are in June already. It's really ridiculous.
May flu. Absolutely. 30 days is not a long commitment, but it's enough to get the habit started.
Exactly. And once you get that 30 days done, it becomes so much easier that you just start. It's in your life already. Once you do it for 30 days, you can really adjust your life, and you've already started to adjust how you do things. But talk a little bit about what's in there, a little bit about the content. And y'all, if you're watching this, I just have to, do my due diligence and say, go get the Kindle. Now, I will say, get the Kindle, yeah, so you have it with you. Like, if you travel, you have that Kindle, you can pull it up and you don't have to take the book with you everywhere. But I also will say, I am a in my hand person. I gotta take notes. That's me. And there are, what is it, Kindle paper where you can actually take notes in the Kindle or whatever. But I am definitely a book in hand person. I wish I had it in hand right now. Amazon was taking forever, but there is a paperback. There is now a hardback up there as well. If you're a
Wow.
hardback person, I'm actually going to get the hardback because I just like the
That's so
feel of
fun.
a hardback. But it is a 7x10. So it's a nice size that you can open and you can really write in. So get the Kindle today, just so you have it to go with you and so that we can help Jodie out here today. But I encourage you to get the paperback as well, so you can really write down your thoughts. There's plenty of room in there. So give us some content info, love.
Okay, I would be happy to. So yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's a big, beautiful book. It is plenty big enough to write in, which I absolutely love as well. I think that makes a huge difference because it really is meant to be that guide and journal. It's like a workbook, basically. So at first, I tell my story.
Yes.
So I tell you where I'm coming from a little more in depth about exactly what I went through and how I created the system. And then we talk about the stats, right? The numbers about burnout, because I think that's really important to know. So for example, when we're talking about different age groups, even in burnout, when we got post COVID, or, at least to 2021, some numbers started coming out, when we all were dealing with all of this stress all the time for a whole year. I figured out that over half of people experienced burnout post COVID. Well, we were kind of still in COVID, right? In 2021, definitely. So they were all, looking at who is dealing with this, how many people are dealing with it. It was 52% of people who said they were burnt out in 2021. And so that went up 10%.
Wow.
Just pre-COVID. Now it kept going. So that's what I found really interesting.
That's interesting.
It wasn't just in COVID or like the year after. It kept going. And so now, same thing, over half of millennials were already burned out pre-pandemic. And then it went up to close to 60%. And then same thing, Gen Z about 60%. They all went up about 10%. It was really interesting. And even baby boomers, so our retired generation too, saw, that go up about at least 7%. So everybody was affected. Gen Xers, which is me, right? We went up the most, which was 14%, which is a big jump.
And that was during COVID?
That was 2021 is when they started doing all these studies to be like, how is this affecting people? Right. They wanted to know. All the researchers were like, how is this affecting us?
Yeah. And it's crazy because everybody was stuck at home.
Exactly. Yes, we're stuck at home and it's more stressful. It can be worse because people weren't prepared for it. And that's the thing. We feel like it's a personal choice, and this is across the board. When we feel like that we have a choice, we have some control, we have some say in what happens to us. Then it's less likely to be traumatic. When we feel like we're out of control, when we feel like we don't get a say in something, that we don't, make that intentionally, when it's forced upon us by outside circumstances, that's when it feels the most traumatic. And so it was really helpful to know, first of all, half of people were basically burnt out before.
Right.
That's huge. And then they got, to their highest levels, which was, even 10% higher than that. But it's not just about work, because I feel like people only used to talk about when the term burnout came out, it was only about corporate America. It was like corporate burnout. Now, it does. You don't have to work in corporate to be burnt out. And it's not just about job, because again, we're whole people. And so then caregiver burnout
Mhm.
numbers started coming out too, because people were sick, and then you were either, let's say one
Yeah.
parent was sick, you're caregiving for the children by yourself
Yep.
if you weren't already, right?
Yeah.
Or
Right.
you're taking care of elderly parents, a lot of us that are in that sandwich generation.
Yep.
You got it on both sides.
Yep.
And so, that was huge. So we're looking at, 40% of people just from caregiving, not even like looking at their
Yeah.
jobs, just from caregiving,
Yeah.
40% of people are emotionally stressed, and 20% of them are far enough in burnout to where it's physically straining them.
Yeah.
And so you're getting sick taking care of other people
Right.
because we're taking care of them first and we're not taking
Right.
care of ourselves. And
Exactly.
so that's why next I go into symptoms.
Yeah.
So it's all about symptoms and
Yes.
signs and stages,
Yeah.
because we don't realize, like
Mm.
you were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
that, oh, I'm getting sick kind of often all of a sudden. Oh, I'm just going to blame it on the kids or the grandkids. Like they're little germ factories. They bring everything home. Well, true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not always all it is. When I
Well, and
was working.
if you're burnt out, your immune system is down, and that's really why you're getting it from the kids, because if you're not burnt out and you're healthy, your immune system can fight all that off, and people don't realize that.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
we excuse things away.
Yes.
So,
Oh, yeah.
my I won't go on my big soapbox about this, but one of my favorite things to talk about is how in our society from a very young age, we are taught to disconnect from our bodies and not pay attention to
Yes.
our signs and symptoms. And so a lot of the work that I do is helping people to reconnect, because that mind body connection is very strong. Like I said, what starts in your mind, your body follows. And so our bodies will give us signs and symptoms and say, hey, over here, like, could you like rest? Could you
Pay
take
attention.
care of yourself? And
Yep.
then we override. We just override it. We ignore it. We explain it
Mhm.
away. We say, oh, the kids are sick. No big deal. Oh, this is happening. Oh, I just didn't get enough sleep last night. But then it accumulates and it gets worse. And so
Yeah.
then I
Yes,
go
it
into
is.
stages. And this is something that I didn't actually realize when I came up with this framework, that a lot of people don't talk about burnout being a cycle.
Mm, mhm.
And had to come up with my own stages,
Oh,
because
wow.
I didn't realize that people weren't really breaking these things down of
Oh,
how it accumulates and how it gets worse. And so, I actually attribute the first stage of burnout really to being before you're burnt out. I call it the enthusiasm stage,
no.
because you are, especially if let's say you're an entrepreneur
Yeah.
like us, and you're really excited about a project, and you're
Yep.
like, hey, like I can do this. And you have all this energy and you're committed and you're
Yep.
ready and you're working hard. Well, one of the things that I know led me into that cycle of
Mhm.
burnout was this kind of limiting belief that I developed really young, that you had to
Okay.
work hard to be
Yeah.
successful. Well,
Yes.
physically hard, right?
Mhm.
So I would make sure that I was like, okay, I'm having the more success I had, the harder I thought I had to work, and I had to push
Right.
myself physically.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of that working hard stage, but you're not struggling yet. And that's the second stage, is you're
Mm.
struggling more. And that's before you crash. So you maybe start getting a little frustrated, you're getting a little short with people, you're getting a little tired, your motivation might wane just a little bit, your focus might wane a little bit. And it's barely starting, it's barely there. And that's before you crash, before all the mental and physical exhaustion and all of that. Um, you start to see in the challenge type stages, it's challenging other areas of your life too now. So
Right.
you're looking at relationships, we're looking at your health, right? And then that conflict phase to me is when your body starts fighting against you.
Mhm.
So you're seeing little signs and symptoms all along the way, but this is where it starts getting a lot worse, and before you get into complete burnout,
Yeah.
and then basically that's your physical, mental, emotional kind of breakdown,
Yeah.
overwhelm. And then you may decide to rest and recover, and then it starts all over again. And that's when you get into that chronic burnout where the
Right.
cycle just starts over again because you figure out, oh, like I'm burned out. I need to do this, but it's been coming for a long time. So you can
Yeah.
catch it before it gets to that point. And so I really dive in after the awareness piece, because to me, awareness is always the first step in everything. You have to be
Yes.
consciously aware. So bringing it up into the surface and seeing what's going on. And then we
Right.
start talking about how to create those healthy habits. And so I have questions in there about, where your habits are now, so you can
Yes.
become more aware of those. And then I start talking about making mindfulness more of a habit and
Right.
how to do that, why to do that, and why
Yeah.
I talk about harmony versus balance. So I
Yes.
address that in here too, because
Yeah.
balance, people talk about work-life balance. Well, what do you
Good.
picture in your mind when you
Yeah.
hear balance? Like a balance beam, maybe a
Mm,
teeter-totter, right? These things where you have to work really, really hard and it's really, really stressful. And there's a lot of pressure and expectation to keep it perfect,
mhm. Yeah,
right?
mine's always a scale. When if I'm talking about balance, it's one of those scales, right? Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. And that's something where it's like, okay, it's very precarious
it
and
is.
it's stressful to keep it just even, just
Mhm,
perfect. Right. And
mhm.
so that's why I hate that word. So it's not my
Yeah,
thing. And I rarely use the word hate, but yeah. So it's one of my, I have a few, what I consider like my versions of 4-letter words, which,
yeah,
are like balance and the L word, lazy. Like, oh,
yes,
I don't even like to say it out of my mouth because
yes,
it's so
right?
judgmental
It
of
is.
ourselves. You're like, "Oh, I'm just being lazy today." It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. Yeah, no,
Right.
like, you don't do that because what are we telling ourselves, right? Whatever we're
Yes,
telling ourselves that we are
true.
is what our subconscious mind believes. And so
Ugh,
when we give our mind these visuals that we have to
yeah,
be stressed out to make everything so perfect,
yeah,
it's too much pressure, it's too much
it
expectation,
is,
it's not
yes.
healthy. And so I talk about harmony where everything can work together in
Mhm.
a way that's most pleasing for you because everyone's life is different. And it's all about what is going to bring you peace, joy, harmony, calm, right, in your life and help you with your burnout. So it is a really amazing opportunity to realize that things like your time management, your energy management, all the things we mentioned earlier with shifting the schedules or
Mhm.
how you do things or how you rest and recover and how you prioritize self-care and what boundaries you set and all of those types of things that I
Yeah,
address in here, that those are yours, that you
yeah,
have control, that you are the one that gets to choose what's going to work best for you. You do not
yeah,
have to fit into a box that I tell you that this is how you have to run your life in order to not be burnt out. It is
right.
really important that you create your own harmony. And so that's giving you that permission to take control of your life and to feel like, hey, I get to make these choices and I get to be intentional about this and what's going to work best for me, what's going to work best for my family. So I go into customizing your own plan.
Yes, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that, like, if you have a spouse and stuff, so a lot of us like to bend what works for us to be okay
Mhm.
with your spouse, and
Yeah.
it's like, unfortunately, that doesn't always work. Yes, you should try to
Mhm.
meld what works for both of you,
Mhm.
yes, but what's going to work for your body, your sanity, if you wanna
Mhm.
say sanity,
Yeah.
isn't always gonna be what other people suggest for you. You can take
Mhm.
suggestions, but you ultimately have to do what's gonna work for you. But the mentality thing is so huge. Like when I come
Mhm.
down here, and hang out with my children and my grandbabies, I mean, some things they just say, now don't say it. Yeah, so okay, well, now yeah, that's how it's gonna be because you just put it out there. And they just, roll their eyes and whatever. And it's like, okay. But like people that are Gen X, we grew up, our parents' work was it. That was if we had like a
Oh, yeah.
dad that worked, that's what they did. That was their priority. That was their focus. That was what they did, period.
Mhm.
If you were fortunate enough to have a stay at home mom, That was her job. That's what she did. So we didn't really grow up learning that work-life balance. We didn't grow
Yeah.
up learning how to meld those. And so then our kids grew up watching us trying to figure out how the heck to do it all.
And
So
literally do it all, like
do it all of it. We did the PTA, the school mom, the basketball games, plus we worked and we tried to literally do it all. And now I look at my kids who are millennials, I guess is what they are, trying to do all of it and being so frustrated and so stressed out because they can't do it all. But they are. I mean, my kiddos are working, my oldest and his wife are both working jobs, and they have 2 babies. So not babies, but 5 and 2, and they get maxed out. And I look at both of them like, y'all just need to take a minute, go for a bike ride. I'm here, go for a bike ride. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you. That was amazing. But I'm like, y'all need to just chill, go for a walk, take the kids, go for a walk, let them play at the playground. That's like the best thing you can do. Go let your kids play at the playground. Let them run like a bunch of Looney Tunes for an hour and sit down.
Get your fresh air.
Yeah. And sit down and do nothing. And please put your phone
down. Just do nothing. Yeah.
That's the key right there. Put the phone down. But
because you're just taxing your brain. You're literally like constantly 24/7, like making your brain work. Yeah.
That's true. But I mean, we just haven't learned. It's not a natural thing you learn anymore. And I love that you broke it all down. And I think I love that it's coming out now. And your statistics about how it went up during, that just makes no sense whatsoever but it kind of does because everybody was stuck in their house with their significant other and didn't know what to do with them. And but no, I love that you are taking this knowledge and putting it in here, that people can do it on their own, but there's so much content in there and they can really start learning and pulling apart some of the things that they're doing and really identifying those things that they're not realizing is burnout in themselves. I love the phrase, I get sick this time of year all the time. They blame it on the seasons. They blame it on whatever. And it's like, what is this time of year in the range of your schedule and a lot of times, maybe you got something major that goes on at work this time of year or your kids or and they're just doing a whole lot more. And that's why your body's like, okay, let me shut down and maybe make you be still.
Yeah. Because if you don't listen, it will get louder and louder and louder until you don't have a choice and you're no good to anybody else.
Exactly.
Take care of all of those things anymore. And so it's really key to listen to those signs beforehand, which is why when we get into the journal section, so there's all of that of where are you now and what's working and what isn't, right? So there's all of that in the guide part. When we get over into the 30-day journal section, I teach you how to do what I call a mindfulness check-in, right? So it's a check-in with yourself of, taking literally 1 minute. You don't have to take a long time to do this, but each day, just a few seconds to breathe and check in with yourself of how am I feeling and what's going on in my body? What am I noticing or experiencing in my body? And then breathing again, and then really looking at, okay, what can I do? What can I do to shift that? What do I need to give to myself? And so I have you do one of those a day. It doesn't matter what time it is. Do it whenever you want, but at least once a day to build that habit. And then I have some morning and evening prompts that are going to help you just get into that mindset and get into that habit, because we need to shift those habits and those patterns of our thoughts and our actions. And so what those 30 days is going to do of doing that mindfulness check-in and then doing those morning and evening prompts, it's going to help you to get into that mindset and to shift those patterns. Because in
Yes.
our brains, right, we have these neural pathways, and we have the ones that are super worn in that we've been,
Yeah.
wearing in, and it's like a super highway. We've been taking that same highway for our whole lives. We just keep going down that path. Well, we need to create a brand new path. And so in 30 days, you can start to forge a new path. And I explain it to my clients as like a trail. I live in the Pacific Northwest, so you get lots of woods and analogies out of me, right? Good metaphors and
Right.
analogies
I love it.
about outdoorsy things. And
Yes.
so what's great is you can start to forge this new path of like, okay, I'm going to start to think differently about this. I'm going to choose and be intentional to go on this new path, this new way of thinking or operating, these new habits, create a new pattern in your mind. And then the more you take that path,
Yeah.
it becomes like a trail and then a road. And then you can
Yeah.
create a highway out of it eventually. And so what it does is it helps you kind of tromp down all those bushes and start that trail, get that formed so that by the end of a month, if you've been doing this, so at that point, consistently each day, you have that path that you can now choose in your mind. You're going to
Right.
be able to see, oh, that's what's going on.
Yes.
Oh, that's what's happening in my body. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe I should pay attention to this. Oh, maybe I need a break. Oh, hey,
Yeah.
I'm actually hungry or thirsty. Instead of doing what I used to do, which is get so busy that I would work through and not eat.
Mhm.
I'm sure I wasn't hydrating enough. I wasn't moving enough. Right?
Yes.
Exactly. I was trying to run from one thing to the next, and I was
Yep.
stressed out because this person was late, and then I made me late, and then, oh my
Yep.
goodness. Yeah, it was too much, and going through that every single day is not sustainable mentally, emotionally, or physically.
Mhm.
And so this is going to give you a pattern and a path to choose that is sustainable, but that's going to work for you because you designed it around your
Right.
life, not anybody else's.
Right. Yes. No, I love that. And yeah, I am very guilty of the sitting in my office for 6 hours. And I burnt a pizza one time because I forgot it was in the oven. Uh, my husband
Yeah,
made
because
me
you
put it
have
on.
something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my husband made me put that on social media and tell on myself. But I used to tell people all the time. I get in my office and I forget about
Yeah.
how long, and I'll look down and it's been 6 hours and I
Mhm.
haven't moved out of the chair. My body doesn't care for that.
No,
So,
your body
and
doesn't
I
like
but
that.
the good thing is I've gotten better about drinking my water, so I no longer can sit in the chair for for 6 hours. My body's like, "Yeah, no, you've got to go to the bathroom, so you
Hey,
gotta get up
that
more often."
works.
But it does,
It
you
works.
get so busy. I don't know how many people I talk to that work in corporate America or and they don't eat because they're so busy, and that's awful. You get home at 8 o'clock at night and you're starving. That's the worst time to
Yeah.
eat, and it's those little things that you are choosing whether you realize it or not. You're choosing to do those things. And those are the things that catch up with you and end up
Mhm.
cycling into this burnout, and it's you wonder why you end up with this issue or this issue, and most of them end up being physical issues, and you
Mhm.
don't know how you got there. And if you track it back to when you first started with that point, that's probably what it was. And I know I have those, and I've slowly adjusting my mentality and my nose. And I don't know if it was you that said it or we were having a conversation and we're like, yeah, no is a sentence,
Yeah, complete sentence. Yeah.
a complete sentence, and it does not need explanation.
Nope.
And you have to learn how to say that. And I've gotten to that. And I've learned, like, after a certain time at night, I don't answer messages unless
Mhm.
I have an event coming up the next day and it's from that person. Or, because I have a lot of people that I work with that evenings is the time they can contact me. But 10
Yeah.
o'clock is not the time to have a conversation.
It's not.
But I
Yeah.
get a lot of messages after that time. And so I've
Mhm.
learned to not open them because I'm
Yes.
like, I can't be up till 3 a.m. working. I can't do it. I mean, I will because I'm a night owl and I can do that. But then my next day is might as well just be scrubbed because I'm not working up to my effectiveness. So you can go through a week and do stuff halfway if you like to function that way. But I am too much of I got to have things done right. So that's not how I prefer to work. But yeah, there's so many things involved in that. And it's the choices that you make and you have to be the person that is responsible for the things that you do. And you can't look at the things around you and blame those. You have to realize it's the decisions that you make. So I absolutely love all the journals we've made together. You have 2 other ones behind you. So
2 more over here.
Yes, I love it. So I encourage everybody, first of all, to get this one, because this one's going to change your life. Because changing your mindset and really getting in a good groove with how you do life. There's the Kindle. It's so pretty.
The Kindle is pretty.
This is my favorite cover I've done for you so far. I love all the covers we've done, but this is my favorite. It's so pretty. And it's just relaxing. Who doesn't want to be standing by that beach? Me. That's my bliss the ocean is my bliss. So I say that often.
Yeah. And that was the thing is we were talking about that and it can be so peaceful and so restorative. And so, yeah, I mean, it worked out so beautifully.
I love it.
Yeah, but the other covers are gorgeous that you designed for me as well. And so, yeah, everything that happens for a lesson and the embracing your strengths. Those, of course, are also available on Amazon. You put my name in and you'll see all of them. But this one, absolutely, pick whichever format that you like best. I like your idea, Nicole. You can get the Kindle for on-the-go purposes. You have your own journals and things like that, or you like to put notes in your phone, or like you said, you have, the little pencil for your iPad or something, where you can do that on the go. I like to take it on airplanes and things if you want to do that. But there is something to be said about writing in ink on paper, because when you are looking at this and you're looking at those questions and you're writing and you're filling them out, our brains are actually working in multiple ways because we are seeing it. Often we're, saying it to ourselves in our minds, or you can speak it out loud if you want to, but then you also have that kinesthetic experience of writing those things physically. And it hits different. There's something deeper about embedding that in your mind, of writing it out, and you're writing your statements, right? You're writing about your life. And so the things like you were talking about, Nicole, with boundaries, for example, you're writing down which healthy boundaries you're setting, you're enforcing. And I love your example because it was a boundary with not just with other people, but with yourself. Because boundaries are about both. It really should be win-win when we create those boundaries of you're letting other people know these are the hours I'm going to get back to you, but then knowing that also you're going to keep that boundary with yourself of you're going to turn those notifications off, or you're going to put the phone away, from you. And so when you're writing those things down, it's also this commitment to yourself. And like you said, we all have the power of choice, and everything we do is a choice. And when you become aware of something, then when you know better, you can do better, right? And so we're going to be able to make those healthy choices every single day. And then you can look back on this and remind yourself of what worked, because sometimes we forget what worked. And if you have written in it and like given yourself these guidelines of, okay, this is how I'm going to create this harmony in my life. This is how I'm going to recover from prevent burnout in the future. You can go back and reference it later and remind yourself of, okay, these are the boundaries that I set for myself and with others. These are the ways that I can get back on track if for any reason you start to feel overwhelmed or a little overloaded in the future.
Yeah. And I love it. And it's okay to mess up, and it's okay to start over. It's not a failure. It's just, you just have to restart. And it's not, it's not over just because you mess up. It's your life. You just have to start again and do better the next time. So I love that. And I think Anybody, I love you to death. I love our connection that we've built. We've known each other for several years now. It's crazy. And we've
Yes.
actually got to hang out, which is even better because
In person multiple times now. I love
yes,
it.
we love it. So I'm so glad. And I think anybody that gets this book is going to get to know who you are. And going to want the other two books because I think they kind of all just kind of gel together. They're
They do.
all about improving your person, improving you, and they're all going to be great. So get this book. It's going to change your life. It's going to change how you do things. I think it's just going to help you. It's definitely not going to hurt you. That's for darn sure. And then if you need to go further with it, if you need more and you need some help, or if you're struggling with, getting past something, get a hold of Jodie. I know she just loves working with people. It's what she does, obviously. But get a hold of her and, ask her questions. Let her know what you thought of the journal. Do a review on Amazon for sure.
Yes,
And
please.
reach out to her because you want to know this lady. Absolutely. I know a lot of you do already. So anything else you want to say before we go, love?
I do want to say, like you had mentioned, that you don't have to do it alone. Yes, you can get started
Yes.
using this guide and the journal, and you can absolutely start to make those choices right away.
Yes.
And if you need that deeper level of support, you're absolutely right, Nicole. I'm available for you to reach out to me. You can go to my website. I'll put it up here too. It's psychedupsuccess.com. You can DM me. So there's lots of ways to find me. Just look me up. And I would love to be able to support you and to get the feedback of how you are, utilizing this tool, because that's what it is, right? It's a tool and it's a resource. And like you said, Nicole, the other journals that I have as well, you were talking about fail. That's one of my other 4-letter words, by the way. That's what the everything happens for a lesson journal is all about, is
Right.
about, if we learn from it, we don't. I call them perceived failures because there really
There
is
you
no
go.
such thing if you learn from
Yes.
it.
Right.
Absolutely. And then embracing our strengths. Yeah, it really is, a representation. Each one of these actually
Yeah.
are a representation of different pieces of work that I do one-on-one with my
Right.
clients and in
Right.
groups. And so, I really have taken some of these, therapeutic types of resources and tools to be able to put them in more hands, to be
Yes.
able to have them more widely available. And so the last thing I'll say is, if you would love to share this out to anyone, we would appreciate it.
Yes,
Anyone
please.
can benefit. As you heard, so many people are dealing with this. Burnout is truly an epidemic. And so the more widely we can share these messages and bring up people's awareness of what burnout is and how to recover from it and how to prevent it, that is absolutely one of my passions and one of my joys. And so thank you for watching with us. Thank you for grabbing whichever copy that you would like to have. And thank you for sharing this with others as well.
Yes, thank you all so much. And go get the book, get your copy, share, share, share. Yes, share this with everybody that you know, because trust me, whether you know it or not, somebody's dealing with this, and whether they know it or not.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you so much, Jodie. First of all, for letting me create for you again. I love working with you, and I say it all the time, but I love what I do. And it's because of people like you. I love working with people to get what they do out there. So yeah, thank you so much for
Thank
letting me
you.
create for you. I
You're
appreciate it. And
beautiful.
thank you everybody that watches this and shares it. And go get your copy. And thank you so much and have a fantastic day. Bye y'all.
Thanks, everyone.